So I'm just going to go through all of the floppy disks that I have here. I said in my last video that these are all music disks. So excluding those, I'll go through all these other disks. These two are disks I used to put drivers on to this computer, and possibly it was those drivers that got USB flash drives working on the computer. But I'll just go through each of these disks and see what happens. I think the last time I went through them, a few of them were empty. And I think a couple were not formatted, and the rest of them had files as they were being used. So it looks like the computer is hanging a little bit here. But you can hear the floppy drive working away. Oh, here we go. It's not formatted. You don't want to do that quite now. Let me just close out of these other windows. And there we go. That looks nice. So now if I try that again, it'll probably give me the same error about it not being formatted. So actually I'm going to go ahead and format it now, just so I can use the disk. And I got this same error when I tried loading it earlier this morning on a Windows 10 computer with external USB floppy disk reader. So it's not just this computer acting up. Now that I've seen it in two places, I'm actually convinced that there is nothing on this floppy disk and it's safe to format it. So yes, this is a 1.44 megabyte. That's what I want. And yeah, I'll just go with the default settings here. I don't need to do anything fancy. And that floppy drive is working away. You know, with modern data storage methods, you don't actually really hear anything whirring away inside your computer when you're using it. Except for a CD, I guess, or a DVD. But there's a very distinctive sound to a floppy disk reader that's just very nice and pleasing to listen to. You know, it feels like something's actually being done. And so far, this is taking a lot longer to format than it would to format a 16 gigabyte flash drive. Those can take place fairly quickly and be over with. Okay, so it wants me to do a full format. That's okay. And do I need to click yes again? Or, okay, it automatically selected full. So it's going to do a full format of this floppy disk now. And we'll see how long that takes. In the meantime, oops. Oh, I see what's going on. Write protected. Okay. So I know what we need to do now. Get out of here. And... okay, well, this computer is hanging up here. But what I'll do is actually, I probably shouldn't take the disk out right now since it's being used. What I need to do is get rid of all that. If I press Control-Alt-Delete, I believe that brings up the Close Programs menu. And that is nice. This computer has just frozen. Well, that's very nice. Can't really complain though, because even modern computers will freeze. And this computer does have 96 megabytes of RAM, to be fair. I believe the maximum that Windows 98 will allow is 1 gigabyte. And at the time, that was just considered an exorbitant amount of RAM. I mean, 1 gigabyte of RAM. Who would ever need that much, right? Of course, nowadays with the modern computer, if you had 1 gigabyte of RAM, it would be slower than molasses. Slower than this computer, for sure. Yeah, numlock here is not responding, and neither is caps lock, so this is really locked up now. I think our only option here may just be to do a hard reboot. Now, the difficult thing about that is I have a floppy disk, or I have a floppy disk in the floppy drive, so if I leave that in there, it'll probably try to boot from the floppy disk, which is not what I want here. So I'll just power it off using the power switch, and I'll see if I can take the floppy disk out. And that comes out. That's very nice. You don't need power to take a floppy disk out. And I will power the computer on again. And it's going to give me an error, a nice big error about how there's possible disk loss since the computer is not properly shut down. I bet at some point it will. I think it's after the screen. Yep. So I'm just going to exit here. Did that exit? I don't know. Maybe I'll sit through it. It's already 17% complete. I let this run once before for the camera, and it did take a while. I'd say it took about 10 or 15 minutes. Maybe not 15 minutes. It took about 10 minutes. But this is already 25% complete almost. I guess I may as well just let it run. Well, in the meantime, it said something about this floppy disk being write protected. And I believe there is a switch. Gosh, it's been a while since I've really known the ins and outs of floppy disks. But there is a switch physically on the floppy disk that basically does write protection. So I'm thinking it's just this thing here, this mechanism. No, that's for that. I know I've seen it on some. You can see it says protect on this one. Oh, I think this is it right here, this little switch here. I believe that is what it's talking about. And so here's a disk we can write to, and it's in that position. Here's another disk we can write to, it's in the upper position. Here's a disk we cannot write to. You can see it says it's in the protected position. So that is the problem with why we could not format it. It needs to be moved to the right position. And there we go. Now it is in the right position. So now we should be able to write to this floppy disk, including formatting it. And just to check. So that we can write to this disk as well. Okay. Now out of curiosity, these disks here don't even appear to have... Oh, wait a minute. I think it's this right here. So yeah, looks like this disk could be written to as well. I'm not quite sure. It's in a different position. If you look at these floppy disks, and then I turn them around, you can see on this one that toggle is in the lower right. Oh, and here it is too. Okay, I just had it oriented the wrong way before. But yeah, there it is. So now this is ready. And this computer is almost done with the scan disk test. 89% complete. This is a lot faster though than the last time I was doing this, about a week or so ago. It was taking a while. And I believe the reason for triggering that time was I powered off the computer while it was restarting. And in this case, I powered it off while it froze. So, since it was frozen, there's not really a big risk of, you know, a corrupted disk, I would say. Whereas when it was restarting, you know, then it's actually busy trying to do stuff. But in this case, I think it was probably relatively safe. So, now we'll go ahead and boot up. Go ahead and escape out of the login prompt. And let's see here. I can click the X. Okay, right now it's just hanging on that. Still thinking. I think I could click cancel too. Either pressing escape, pressing the X, or pressing cancel I think would work. Now we're logging in. Now notice this. This is interesting here. You notice that the time is not midnight exactly. It's actually 12:40. And that is because the computer still had power, you know, when I rebooted. So it was still keeping time. And that's kind of the big difference between, well, I don't know, actually. I did use the power switch. So, maybe even if you use the power switch, it doesn't keep time. Or it will keep time. But if you actually physically lose power to the computer, then you're going to have issues with the time. Either ways, I couldn't really care less about whether this keeps time or not, so. I have a clock. I have a clock here. There's a clock up there. and there's one there as well. So okay. So now hopefully I'll be able to format this floppy disk and the computer doesn't hang on me. I'll put this back in. And you can see the removable drives are still there. It didn't even occur to me to take them out. But obviously this was way back in the primitive days of USB, so it's not like it would have tried to boot from them or anything like a modern computer would. It would probably just be looking at the CD drive and the floppy drive to see if there's anything in those. USB drives it would just totally ignore pretty much. And yes, I want to format that. And we need to do a full format, and I'll go ahead and start that. My cursor is still moving at the moment, so it hasn't frozen yet. Windows could not format this disk. Either the selected capacity is not valid for this disk, or the disk may be damaged and may need to be replaced. Okay, well, at this point I'm not going to waste my time further with this disk. I think that's just kind of a lost cause at this point. And it's not like I have a real shortage of floppy disks here, so I won't lose any sleep over that. Now, if I could just get out of here without the computer freezing, that would be nice. I can try Control-Alt-Delete. That's not bringing anything up. Oh, there we go. And, oh, it even says not responding. Newer versions of Windows will say not responding up in the title bar, but in this case it does not. You just kind of have to know. So I'll go ahead and end that task. And, Windows Explorer itself just restarted now. But better than a system freeze or a system crash or something. Oh, there we go. Look at that. That's interesting. Active desktop recovery. Okay. Well, I can go ahead probably now and safely remove the disk, which I will. And I'll just put this off to the side and know that I should not use that disk. And I'll put this blue disk in now. I think this one may also need to be formatted. I'm not sure. Nope. This one is working. And there are files on it. So Yeah. Looks like those are some registry entries. Let me just change the view on here. And now if I select the floppy disk, it should give us a view. Maybe that's not this view. Thought one of these views gave you, maybe it's details. Yeah, there we go. So, okay, so basically this floppy disk is free. So this disk I'm definitely going to save for file transfers, should I need to. This is going in the keep pile for sure. These two disks that I was using, this one has MIDI files on it. So that one's basically music. This one has some other files on it, so I'll just set that in a separate pile, pop the next disk in, and I'll just keep on going here. This one is also mostly free. If I go in here, this one's also got some MIDI files on here, interesting. But it's mostly free, so it'd be okay for file transfers too. And next disk. This one is also mostly free. Yep, this one's just got a single MIDI file on there. So, not sure what's up with all the MIDI files, but, okay. So, these two are basically empty. They've just got a couple MIDI files on there. And this one's got a little bit more on there, but it's still mostly free. Again, mostly MIDI files. And I'll pop that one out. Put in that file. Pop the next disk in. Now this one is more than half used, so this one's got some stuff on it. A couple huge .dat files here, as well as, look at this, what do you know? It's got a copy of command.com on here. That's quite interesting. It says the computer recognizes that as an MS-DOS application. But it's interesting, it's just literally command.com on here. So I'll pop this out. And, I'm not positive about this, but I mean, I think that would just be the same thing as going and clicking MS-DOS prompt here. I think. What is that? This one's got some files on there, as do these. I will put this disk in now. This one is mostly free as well. That one doesn't even have a single MIDI file on it. So these disks are actually mostly empty. I guess it's pretty nice, because I don't have to worry about the files that are already on there then. This one has got some stuff on it. Oops, that was the C drive. The A drive is what we want. Okay. So, looks like these are mostly school files and such. yeah, so I won't mess with this one because I have plenty of other discs. I will put that in the used pile. Don't touch. And let's see, this one's got the jackets coming off a little bit. Hopefully that won't be too much of an issue. It won't get stuck in there or anything, I hope. Well, here it goes. This one is mostly used. Mostly by this huge PowerPoint file here, really. I mean, you can see here, I mean, this is how floppy disks were. And, you know, on a flash drive, Word documents and PowerPoints, you know, they take up nothing. But on a floppy disk, you know, just 3 Word documents in a PowerPoint is basically almost a floppy disk. I mean, it is over a megabyte, so. Now, 930 kilobytes is actually pretty big for a file, to be sure about that. Oh, it gives you a little preview of it. That's kind of nice. At least of the PowerPoint it did. Yeah. Okay. So I'll leave this disk be as well, since there are files on here. So a quick recap here. These are our music discs for the CVP-201 Yamaha electronic piano. These are substantially mostly filled. I will not use those discs because I won't need them. This disc, I don't know what is going on with that. That caused my computer to hang once, and then it caused it to whine, I guess, some more. So that's just corrupted or something. And then this disc is basically completely empty. These are also, oops, these are also basically almost empty. They've just got a few MIDI files on them each. So those are pretty good for file transfers as well. So that is the floppy disk collection, basically. That's all I've got. So maybe at some point I'll have some more, but those are all these floppy disks at least. And then maybe at some point in the future, I'll take a closer look at these again. I haven't used these in a while. But these are actually a lot of fun. You put them in the piano. You just slide them into the piano's floppy drive. And then it will play the song. Not only will it play the song, but the keyboard will light up corresponding with the notes that are played. And it's a lot of fun. But that's it for this video.